Lamar Jackson is obviously one of the most dynamic quarterbacks we've ever seen in the NFL. However, the Ravens have come up in the last few years short of winning actual meaningful games in the postseason, partially due to Lamar's inability to succeed in the playoffs. So in this video, we're going to go over all the different things that may happen to this Ravens team because of where they are with Lamar Jackson right now. Either way, let's get right into this video. But first, I gotta tell you about my new partnership with W Energy. This is an energy drink that you can get today and get 10% off your order with code SHREDDER, SHRD3R, right there on the screen. It has zero sugars, no artificial colors or dyes or anything like that. No hidden ingredients. They're all up front about everything. It has very unique flavors, something different than you probably ever tasted in other energy drinks. It only costs $1 per drink, and that's less than like Starbucks or any of your other canned drinks, and a lot of times even sodas, and it's better than sodas. Either way, check out W and use my code SHREDDER to get 10% off your order, and let's get into this video. Before 2023, Lamar Jackson started in 54 games. He won MVP in 2019, as we all know at this point, had 3,100 passing yards with 36 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. A great statistical year. Had 1,200 rushing yards, which was 6th in rushing in the league. Not just quarterbacks, not just running backs, everybody. It was everybody. Best quarterback rushing that year, obviously, as you can easily tell. He also captured the 1 seed that year, and they lost in the divisional round to the 6 seed Titans. Their first game, and they lost it to the worst seed in the playoffs at the time. And then he only played in 12 games in 2021 and 2022, bringing up some issues about his durability and how he might last throughout the seasons. This brings us into the 2023 offseason, where Lamar demands a lot of offensive help, and because of that, his rookie deal was also expiring and demanded a contract for himself as well. The Ravens didn't really meet this criteria he wanted on his contract, and so he requests a trade, but no one wanted him. He was simply just not really a desirable prospect, and many teams had a chance to get him passed on him because they saw him as a guy who, yeah, he's going to cost a lot. He cost you 2 first-round picks, and then he's got such a specific play type where he's going to have to fit a very specific scheme. Does your team match up to that scheme? Most teams don't. It was a big issue for Lamar Jackson. Obviously, at this point, we know that Lamar and the Ravens do agree to a big deal, and then he gets OBJ, and they draft Zay Flowers. They get him 2 legitimate weapons to help him throughout the season, and they take out Greg Roman and bring Todd Monken in to be the new offensive coordinator. So in 2023, they go 13-4 in the regular season. A pretty solid year. Definitely the best record in the league. And as you see here, many of these are the best or top tier of the league. Top 5 in almost every single stat listed. 4th in yards and points for on offense. 3rd in yards per play. 1st in rushing yards. 4th in scoring percentage. Defense, they were 1st in points against, which means they allowed the fewest number of points in the whole entire league. The 6th in yards allowed. 2nd in takeaways. And 3rd in opponent score percentage. With this kind of team, you'd expect Lamar to have everything he could ever want. Their offense is dominant. Their defense is dominant. What team has been like this in the recent memory where their whole lineup from front end to back end, offense and defense, is all just winning on every single level? They make other teams like the San Francisco 49ers look like fools on national television. This was their year. Everything about this year lined up for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to not only get an MVP for their quarterback, but also a Super Bowl for their entire team. So let's go to Lamar Jackson's 2023 season. We start out with the stats. Obviously, he's middle of the pack in passing yards and touchdowns. Not too bad, but not necessarily up there in those stats. He's the best rushing quarterback this year. That we see, no doubt about it. Does have very few interceptions, which is a good sign there. But the PFF stats, which if you've been around my channel, you know that PFF stats are something that I don't really particularly care for, but I use. And that's how they're supposed to be used. They don't tell the whole story. They're used as an aid in guide to looking at players. So, big time throw percentage. He's only at 4.7%, which is 13th. This is according to 25 qualifiers. That's middle of the pack. Turnover worthy play percentage, 2.8%. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but that's 14th. That's middle of the pack. That's not that great. Adjusted percentage, which is the percentage of aim passes that were thrown on target. He's got 24, which is tied 11th. Once again, middle of the pack. But he's got the most time, or the second most time to throw in the league. He also has the second most penalties. Now, the time to throw thing, I'll kind of give you a caveat to this. When you're a mobile quarterback, you obviously get a little bit more time to throw because you're making yourself have a little more time to throw. You're going to see guys like Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen have a little bit more time to throw because they're able to give themselves a few seconds of extra time on average. However, it still is a stat that does matter and doesn't tell the whole story in just one number. So in this season, you obviously see they have the top defense in the league. Lamar has more weapons than he's ever had. They have a consistent offense that's able to do things through the air and on the ground, even though they lost guys like J.K. Dobbins and Mark Andrews for a little bit of time. And they look like the best team in football, and he's heading towards another MVP. Just as I said, this team has taken down the Niners. They've taken down basically everybody. They just couldn't beat the Steelers and the Browns, basically. But they're divisional opponents, which is a different story. But you have this team just dominating every single game they play in, but they still come up short in the playoffs. In the 2023 playoffs, we get a 1 seed for the Ravens. The wild card round is a bye week for them. That's a great sign. They then match up to the Texans, as we all know, and they easily take care of business. Then face off against MAHOMES and lose 17-10 in the AFC Championship. The problem with this, to me, though, is the fact that you beat the Texans. Congratulations. They were a team that probably doesn't have as much talent as most other teams. They had a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach. They weren't supposed to make it this far. They overachieved by making it this far. So, what are we trying to do here? What's that going to mean? And honestly, losing in the AFC Championship is a big deal and something that doesn't really help Lamar at all. You get Lamar in the playoffs, he's 2-4. He only has those wins against Ryan Tannehill and CJ Stroud. He's only had 200 passing yards in 2 out of 6 of the games he's played in. And he's only thrown 6 touchdowns, but 6 interceptions. What's Lamar Jackson's excuse? He has played just not good in the playoffs, period. Doesn't play well when it matters most. Versus the Chiefs, he has one of those 200-yard games. But if you watch the second half of that game, the stats don't necessarily tell the whole story. 272 yards and a touchdown sounds okay, but he missed multiple wide open receivers up the sideline, because that's one of his biggest flaws in his game, is his accuracy outside of the numbers. It always has been and probably always will be at this point. Lamar has been in the league for 6 or so years, and we're in a spot where we're expecting him to become a better passer, and that clearly hasn't happened. So why would we expect it to happen now when he's already been here? So what does all this mean? That's the next question. And Lamar is just simply not the guy who you can deliberately win with. You're not going to go into any game and just win because you have Lamar Jackson. The Ravens can't rely on him to do that. That's what happened in the second half of the Chiefs game. They tried to rely on Lamar. He dropped back and he passed. And guess what? A lot of those passes fell incomplete because he doesn't have the arm talent, the arm accuracy, the quarterbacking ability to just play the quarterback position at its base state. He has to use his legs, which isn't a problem if you let him do that. This is also part of the reason why no one would pay the costs of 2 first-rounders and the contract he wanted, because that's 2 first-round picks and a major contract, and this guy is going to play one way, and if you don't play that one way, he's not going to succeed. There's an argument for guys like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and even maybe a couple more that you would make that deal. I think all of those 3, yeah, you're trading 2 firsts and giving them whatever they want because those guys can play the quarterback position at the best level. And he's about to get really expensive, which will be very dangerous for this Ravens team. So what is Baltimore going to do? To me, there's nothing they can do. Right now, they have to sit where they are. They have to try to keep this team together and go forward with basically the same bones of this team. Maybe expanding a little bit, adding another receiver because OBJ wasn't super great. Adding one thing here or there, but you've got this team. This is what you have to work with, and Lamar Jackson being paid what he is not going to make this team building process any easier. To give you my opinion, Lamar Jackson is obviously one of the better football players in the league we've seen today, or probably close to ever. Just the dynamic ability of his passing and running is something we haven't really ever seen before. But the big caveat here is he doesn't win when it matters, and he's proven that over and over and over again, and they've given him chances. They had to build this superstar team for him to get even close to sniffing an AFC Championship win, and it didn't happen because of him. The offense was going through the playoffs well until Lamar had to start dropping back to pass and trying to win games with his arm, and he can't do it. To me, you can't change this team. You've got to keep it going. You have another shot. Can you just win the right way with Lamar? That's possible. You just have to do it. You have to give him the most comfortable situation possible. Either way, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and I'd love to just see your takes on this. Lamar is definitely a topic at this point of just confusion. What is he? What will he be? What will his legacy remain once he's over? And does he deserve this MVP? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.